Welcome to Prodigium, Mr. Morton. From the Latin, monstrum vel prodigium. A warning of monsters. Forgive the state of things. We had very little time to prepare for our guest, and only the information Jennifer provided to go on. In truth, she works for us. It's not an exact science, this business.
And the business being?
Evil, Mr. Morton. Recognize, contain, examine, destroy. She is by far the most ancient we've ever encountered.
Set. This is Michael Faulkner, and it is showtime at the June 6th, 2017 edition of the Weekly Podioplex, brought to you on the Chronic Rift Network. This week's birthdays include Maleficent's Angelina Jolie, Mark Wahlberg from the Transformers franchise, Liza Wheel from Gilmore Girls, Robert Freddy Krueger Englund, Jason Isaacs from Harry Potter and Star Trek Discovery, Liam Neeson and his certain set of skills, Bill Hader from Inside Out, the Sixth Doctor, Colin Baker, Frank Grillo from Captain America, The Winter Soldier, Natalie Portman, whom you know from quite a few things, including Star Wars, and Marty McFly himself, Michael J. Fox. Starting with the box office report, A Real Wonder was the winner. At number 10 is King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, down 2 from 8th. At number 9 is Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Long Haul, down 3 from 6th. At 8 is Snatched, down 1 from 7th. In 7th is Everything Everything, down 2 from 5th. And finishing out this week's bottom 5 is Alien Covenant, down 2 from 4th. The top 5 this week begin with Baywatch, down 2 from 3rd with $8.7 million and a new total of $42 million. In 4th place is Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 2, down 2 from 2nd with $9.8 million and a new total of $355.6 million. In 3rd place is last week's winner, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales, adding $22.1 million to a total of $115.1 million. In 2nd is new release Captain Underpants, the first epic movie, picking up the crumbs with $23.9 million. That is one of the smallest opening weekends for a DreamWorks animated title, coming in 26th out of the 35 films for the studio so far. Of course, it is still a win, because the budget was so small in comparison to the rest of the library. The downside here is the limited amount of time that Captain Underpants has to earn anything before Cars 3 and Despicable Me 3 hit theaters. Captain Underpants received a B+ cinema score and an 85% critical approval. And then there was Diana of Themyscira. Taking over in first is Wonder Woman, earning $103.3 million domestically and $228.3 million worldwide. Wonder Woman has the 15th largest opening weekend for a comic book adaptation out of the all-time 152 charted titles. If we don't count sequels in that mix, the movie jumps to 6th, which is also the rank among all DC Comics movies, coming in behind Man of Steel, Suicide Squad, The Dark Knight Rises, and Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. 6 is also the magic number in terms of June openings, where Wonder Woman comes in behind Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen, Toy Story 3, Man of Steel, Finding Dory, and Jurassic World. It may have come in last place so far in the DC Comics Extended Universe, but it has the best reception out of that group, with an A cinema score and a 93% critical approval. The closest comparison was Man of Steel's A- and 55%. In the small grouping of female-led comic book films, the closest comparison is Ghost in the Shell, which debuted to $18.6 million earlier this year. In the even smaller grouping of female-directed comic book films, the only other point of comparison is Lexi Alexander's Punisher Warzone, which opened to $8.1 million in 2008. Director Patty Jenkins has mostly worked in television, but her other feature film was 2003's Monster, starring Charlize Theron and Christina Ricci, which only earned $60.4 million worldwide. Audience demographics were 52% female, and 47% of the audience was over the age of 35. 14% were under the age of 18, The kids that I saw at my screening this weekend were smitten with Wonder Woman, even to the point of acting out the scenes upon leaving the theater. As for me, I was in tears for a majority of the movie. It was powerful, it was fun, and it's a massive step up for the DCEU. We need more of these kinds of movies. So many more. Let's close out the box office report with the look was winning in years gone by. 5 years ago in 2012, Madagascar 3, Europe's Most Wanted, took number one with $60.3 million. 10 years ago in 2007, Ocean's 13 won the weekend with $36.1 million. 20 years ago in 1997, Con Air was the winner with $24.1 million. 30 years ago in 1987, Beverly Hills Cop 2 took the title for a third and final week with $12.4 million. And 40 years ago, in 1977, Star Wars was a box office champ for a second week with $5.6 million. I guess that film had some legs, huh? The box office premieres for June 9th start with a reboot in Universal's Monsters lineup. This week's headliner is The Mummy, an action-adventure film starring Tom Cruise, Sophia Boutella, and Annabelle Wallis.
Ahmanet understood power was not given. It had to be taken. She made a choice to embrace evil. Set, the god of death. They made a pact. A pact that would unleash darkness itself. Ahmanet was reborn. A monster.
An ancient princess is awakened from her crypt beneath the desert, bringing her malevolence grown over millennia and terrors that defy human comprehension. The Mummy is rated PG-13. Now, of course, I don't want to ruin or influence your movie-going pleasures this weekend, but the reviews for The Mummy so far have been pretty savage. In fact, the reason I even bring this up, one of the lines that caught my eye was that Tom Cruise makes Brendan Fraser look like Errol Flynn. Wow. The second title is Megan Levy, a biographical war drama starring Kate Mara, Raymond Rodriguez, and Tom Felton.
Pretty sure they sell loofahs in the gift shop. Oh, actually, no, they bombed the gift shop.
Oh, that's too bad. I like loofahs.
I'm Matt Morales. I'll be your tour guide today.
Megan Levy. Who's that?
It's Chico. Chico Sid. I trained Chico to lick the enemy to death.
Nice.
So where you from?
New York.
Yeah, me too. But you're not a Yankees fan, though, right?
Born and bred.
Oh, come on. Dagger to my heart, really? Well, I guess we'll never speak again, Megan. Chico, we don't talk to Yankees fans, right? Good boy.
This film is based on the true life story of a young Marine corporal whose unique discipline and bond with her military combat dog saved many lives during their deployment in Iraq. Megan Levy is rated PG-13. And the third title is It Comes at Night, a horror mystery film starring Joel Edgerton, Christopher Abbott, and Carmen Ejogo.
The way we like to run things, and we think it's important. You know, I think it's important to keep a routine and stay busy. Oh, God, I'm sure I'm forgetting a few things.
There's plenty of time to work out all the details.
Yeah. Overload. Well, just settle in.
Yeah.
And we'll get working in the morning. And welcome.
That's perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, buddy. He's hiding.
Why are you hiding?
Secure within a desolate home as an unnatural threat terrorizes the world, a man has established a tenuous domestic order with his wife and son, but this will soon be put to the test when a desperate young family arrives seeking refuge. It Comes at Night is rated R. There are also 3 titles on this week's limited slate, and you can find those in the show notes. Next up is a look at the home entertainment slate for the week of June 6th, and I'll kick things off with new release on DVD and Blu-ray, and that list begins with Beauty and the Beast, a musical fantasy film starring Emma Watson, Gugu Mbatha-Raw, and Ewan McGregor. This is a live-action adaptation of the 1993 animated classic fairy tale about a monstrous-looking prince and a young woman who fall in love. Beauty and the Beast is rated PG. The second title is A Cure for Wellness, a horror film starring Dane DeHaan, Jason Isaacs, and Mia Goth. An ambitious young executive is sent to retrieve his company's CEO from an idyllic but mysterious wellness center in a remote location in the Swiss Alps. He soon suspects that the spa's miraculous treatments are not what they seem, and when he begins to unravel the terrifying secrets, his sanity is tested as he finds himself diagnosed with the same curious illness that keeps all the guests here longing for the cure. A Cure for Wellness is rated R. And number 3 on this list is The Young Pope, a television miniseries starring Jude Law, Diane Keaton, and Silvio Orlando. This is the controversial story of the first U.S. Pope, Pius XIII, told showing his inner struggle between the huge responsibility of being the head of the Catholic Church and the miseries of the simple man that fate, or the Holy Spirit, chose as pontiff. The Young Pope is not rated. Swinging by new releases on digital video, I have one title to share. That one is Don't Knock Twice, a horror film starring Katie Sackhoff, Lucy Boynton, and Nick Moran. A mother desperate to reconnect with her troubled daughter becomes embroiled in the urban legend of a demonic witch. Don't Knock Twice is rated R. Moving right along to TV on DVD and Blu-ray, things start there with Doctor Who, Series 10, Part 1 from 2017, starring Peter Capaldi, Pearl Mackie, and Matt Lucas. Peter Capaldi returns as the 12th Doctor, traveling through time and space in his TARDIS. New traveling companions Bill Potts and Nardole, old enemies with the return of Missy, and lots of adventures are awaiting him in his Season 10 journey.
I had a dream once. Our world had ended. Vampires had taken over. And I was the only one that could stop them. It was no dream.
Number 2 on the list is Van Helsing, Season 1 from 2016, starring Kelly Overton, Christopher Heyerdahl, and Jonathan Scarfe. From the producers of Fargo and Hell on Wheels, Van Helsing is set in the near future where vampires have risen and take control. Vanessa Van Helsing is humanity's last hope for survival, as her unique blood composition gives her ability to turn vampires human. With this secret weapon, Vanessa becomes a prime target for the vampires. And the third TV title is actually a twofer. That one is Chips, Season 6 from 1982, and the complete series spanning 1977 to 1983, and starring Eric Estrada, Larry Wilcox, and Robert Pine. Rev up for action-adventure and zoom back to the early 1980s with Chips. Season 6 of the hit series kicks off with Paunch becoming the training officer of new rookie Bobby Nelson, and the two soon go undercover as outlaw bikers in an effort to catch illegal weapons hijackers. Plus, some of the CHP personnel worried that a robot is going to replace them. Kathy closes in on dog nappers. 3 beautiful rock and roll singers are in danger of being kidnapped by a sex slave ring. And Paunch takes a part-time job as a model for a jeans company, but soon discovers that stardom takes him away from his real work, the rewarding job of putting criminals behind bars. I'll wrap up the Homertainment slate with Blu-rays in the past, and this week I have one title. That one is Bambi, an animated adventure film from 1942 celebrating its 75th anniversary, starring Hardy Albright, Stan Alexander, and Babette Audrey. In Disney's spectacularly animated forest fable, a faun named Bambi is born, destined to become Prince of the Forest. He soon befriends the other woodland creatures such as Flower, a bashful skunk, and Thumper, an outgoing rabbit. As the years pass, they encounter a number of life lessons in the woods and complete the cycle of life. Bambi is rated G. After this brief break for About a Shameless podcast cross-promotion, the Weekly Podioplex will continue.
Okay, auditions for the new Earth Station Who co-host. Take one. Go ahead.
Hello, Stonehenge. Who takes the Pandora Cup, takes the universe. But, bad news everyone, cause guess who? Ha, listen, you lot you're all whizzing about. It's really very distracting. Could you all just stay still a minute because I am talking?
Not bad. Can you do another? Maybe something less wordy.
He's like fire and ice and rage. He's like the night and the storm in the heart of the sun. He's ancient and forever. He burns at the center of time and can see the turn of the universe, and he's wonderful.
Wow, a little dark. Anything a little lighter?
There's no point in being grown up if you can't be childish sometimes.
Maybe. Got something a little fresher?
I am not a good man, and I'm not a bad man. I am not a hero, and I'm definitely not a president. And, no, I'm not an officer. Do you know what I am? I am an idiot, with a box and a screwdriver.
Not too shabby. Can you close this up?
Earth Station Who, a fun mashup celebrating over 50 years of the Doctor Who universe. You never know where the TARDIS is going to go next. Earth Station Who podcast can be found at www.earthstationwho.com. Earth Station Who is a proud member of the ESO network. We are up on Facebook, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or wherever fine podcasts are found. Peace, and we are done. Did I pass the audition?
We'll get back to you. Next.
And welcome back to the Weekly Podioplex. I'm Denise with your Quick Flicks. Good news for Wonder Woman fans, a second movie is definitely in the works with Patty Jenkins at the helm. The news comes courtesy of a THR profile on Jenkins and Gal Gadot, which focuses on the project's journey to the big screen, and that will see it in a contemporary setting rather than another period piece. Jenkins refuses to let the success of the first movie go to her head, saying, "What I never want to do is start phoning it in and making things just to show that I can keep my foot in the door and do big movies. I don't care about that at all. I just want to make great movies, and that could come from any direction. It might be a $10 million movie, or it might be a $200 million movie." As much fun as a period piece might be, it's good to see them jumping ahead and putting Diana into the modern day. Let's just hope Patty Jenkins doesn't let cynicism and DC's favorite dark and gritty filter get the better of our Amazon warrior. Our bad news of the day, TNT Tales from the Crypt series has been indefinitely stalled. In 1989, HBO began airing episodes of a horror anthology series based on some comic books from the 50s. Hosting each episode was the Crypt Keeper, a decaying corpse who did not let his death or rotting body stop him from telling the scariest stories that he knew. R.L. Stine's predecessor was voiced by actor John Kasser and known for his off-color puns and high-pitched cackle. Because the show aired on HBO, it was able to get away with the same things Game of Thrones gets away with today, albeit in standard definition with a more limited special effects budget. The show ran until 1996 and saw the release of 3 movies, and last year it was announced that TNT and M. Night Shyamalan were rebooting the series. And now Deadline is reporting that the stall, initially over issues with the rights, has become indefinite and that TNT is moving on with another project with Ridley Scott. TBS Kevin Riley explained the reasoning behind the decision. He said, "That one really got caught up in a complete legal mess, unfortunately with a very complicated underlying rights structure. We lost so much time, so I said, look, I'm not waiting around for 4 years for this thing. Maybe that will come back around, but in the meantime, Ridley Scott has come up, who has so much creative enthusiasm. It's too bad. Tales from the Crypt was a good show. Of course, this doesn't mean the show won't find a home somewhere else, probably HBO, but it will be after the rights issue has been cleared up, and who knows how long that will take." In news that proves the universe is a colossal jerk, thanks to Tom Cruise, we now know the Top Gun sequel will be titled Top Gun Maverick and will have the same tone as the original, surprising no one. In the 1986 film, Cruise played Lieutenant Pete Maverick Mitchell, a hotshot fighter pilot for the Navy who gets sent to the Top Gun Naval Flying School. While there, he becomes romantically involved with an instructor and becomes rivals with the other students and somehow winds up the hero of the movie without getting thrown out of the Navy. But whatever, I don't absolutely hate this movie or anything like that. Cruise confirmed Top Gun 2 is happening back in May, saying that he will return to play Maverick and that the sequel should begin filming sometime over the next year. The sequel has been in semi-active development since at least 2010, but the process was slowed by the suicide of Top Gun's director Tony Scott back in 2012. Speaking with Access Hollywood, Cruise confirmed that Top Gun will go the subtitle route and that Maverick will indeed be consistent with the original movie. The script is being penned by Justin Marks, Joseph Kosinski is said to be frontrunner for the director's spot, and the score will be handled by Harry Faltermeyer. We have yet to hear if there will be a Danger Zone remix. John Wick's 1 and 2 writer is back for a third installment and a fall start date. Derek Kolstad, writer of the first 2 John Wick films, will return to pen the third addition to the franchise. As reported by THR, John Wick 3 is being hurried into production with a start date scheduled for this fall. Chad Stahelski and Keanu Reeves have yet to formally return for the new movie, but it's only a matter of time, and if Samuel L. Jackson gets his way, he'll be joining the team for John Wick 3. Next, fans of Frank Castle won't have too much longer to wait before The Punisher appears on Netflix. The new installment from Marvel appears set to arrive in November. Hold on to your butts, gang, it's not that much longer now. And finally, Joe Hill's Nosferatu and 2 other series are in development at AMC. You know, I still haven't finished the book. Nosferatu, I mean. Maybe the show will be better. AMC announced they are opening their writer's room for some projects under consideration for series orders. Nosferatu, Pandora, and Silent History. In a press release by AMC, the first of the 3 new projects being considered is Joe Hill's Nosferatu, which is being developed and executive produced by Jamie O'Brien. The AMC Studio and Toronto co-production series is based on the novel by Joe Hill and is about a woman named Victoria Queen who has a secret for finding things, a misplaced bracelet, a missing photograph, unanswerable questions, and she is the only one who can track down Charles Manx, a man who has a way with children and transports them to an astonishing and terrifying playground of amusements he calls Christmasland. The second series under consideration is Pandora, created and executive produced by Sam Vincent and Jonathan Brackley with Sister Pictures. The global mystery thriller follows 3 converging storylines as ordinary individuals try to piece together dark secrets leaking out into the world after advanced malware dismantles encryption across the internet. The third series under consideration is Silent History, created by Claire Carr and Charles Spanish and executive produced by Owen Shiflett. The series is based off the app and novel Silent History by Eli Horowitz, Matthew Derry, and Kevin Moffat, and tells the story of a generation of unusual children who are born without the ability to create or comprehend language, but have unique skills of their own. As the condition spreads to epidemic levels, society is faced with how to deal with this new evolution of humans, with the series playing on fears of technology and the threat of the other shaking up our assumptions about who we are and how we should live. Huh. Interesting. And that's it for this week's Quick Flicks. I'll see you guys next time on the Weekly Podioplex.
Thank you, Denise. And here we are once again at the end of a new edition of the Weekly Podioplex. If you want to discuss anything you heard on this week's edition, we would love to hear from you. You can surf on over to the Chronic Rift homepage at chronicrift.com and leave an audio message right there on the website using your microphone. You can also write an email or send an MP3 to weeklypodioplex@gmail.com. If 140 characters or less is more your thing, you can still tweet us on Twitter. The Chronic Rift is Chronic_Rift. The Weekly Podioplex is Weekly Podioplex. Denise is Riley James Keith. And I am Womprat99, like the creature Luke with Bullseye in his T16 in Beggar's Canyon. You can give the Chronic Rift a thumbs up on Stitcher Radio, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, and you can find the Weekly Podioplex and the Chronic Rift on Facebook. The usual disclaimer applies, of course. If you leave us feedback, you may hear your words on a future edition of the Weekly Podioplex. Take a moment, stop on by, and see the shows the Chronic Rift Network has to offer. We have Cyborgs, a Bionic podcast, the Batcave podcast, the OSI Files podcast, the G2V podcast, Generations Geek, Present the Transcription feature, the Dan and Travis Show, the Sci-Fi Diner podcast, Doctor Who and Mr. Drew, the Home Game Show version podcast, and so much more. If you have a Roku player, you can treat it like a time machine and find us there on the Chronic Riffs Roku channel, where we have episodes of the Chronic Riffs Adventures of the 1990s when it was a public access television show on the New York City airwaves. Check us out and find the culture in pop culture. If you're interested in more of my adventures, take a quick trip to my blog, Creative Criticality, where I'm watching every episode of Doctor Who for the first time from the very beginning of the franchise and reviewing those tales in the Timestamps Project. I have just wrapped up the 18th season, which is the final season with the 4th Doctor, and I'm getting ready to begin the adventures with the 5th Doctor. And those reviews can be found at creativecriticality.wordpress.com. You can also find Creative Criticality on Facebook. Denise can also be found on the internet at Accessories Not Included, where she talks about her writing, reviews books, and offers her services as a cover designer. Check her out at accessoriesnotincluded.com. If you decide to pick up any of this week's new releases, why not do it through our Amazon store? You get the newest entertainment at Amazon's low prices and high-quality service, and each purchase you make at that store supports the Chronic Riff Network. Your support keeps us on the air, and we appreciate your consideration. Look for the links to our best bets and the network store in our show notes, or click the Amazon box on the website. The Weekly Podioplex is a Lucky Shot production and is produced by John S. Drew. On behalf of Denise and John, this is Michael Faulkner. Thanks for listening. Until next time, there are adventures and drama, comedy and action, worlds to explore in the depths of film. Get some popcorn, find your favorite seat, and I'll see you at the theater. That's a wrap!